answer is in
the silence. I'm your host, Eric Brown, and with me, Mr. Mike Jones.
Hey, man, there's nothing silent about you and I.
No, sir. We out there, man.
We're going to make some
positive
noise
points
today, too, y'all.
Yeah,
so,
what's up?
While y'all here, I'm just encouraging you to listen with the intent to be influenced, because there is a possibility that you're going to become aware of something that you were unaware of that may create some brand new possibilities for you, not just at work, but also at home.
Yeah, so Mike, if the answer was in the silence, I mean, wouldn't they have to speak to give us the answer?
Well, let's talk about that. Not necessarily so. You know, in many of the times during what I like to call the planning season around the fall, when people are bringing us in to go through strategic outcome setting strategies and talking about their values and their vision statements and mission statements, one of the things that we do is we will generally have a group of people in a room. Now, what I have noticed in the 33 years that I've been doing this, Eric, is that the introverts in that environment, they lose their mind. Extroverts are those individuals that are very auditory, they're talkative, they're outgoing people, and they are generally really participating in these brainstorming sessions. And all of y'all have been involved in a brainstorming session. You are either very comfortable in that environment or you are uncomfortable. The introverts are generally those individuals who are very kinesthetic people. So in environments like this, they're very uncomfortable. So they go inward. They do a whole lot of listening. However, they do not do a lot of contributing to the meeting. The one thing that you've got to know, y'all, I don't care who you are, in every one of those environments, in every one of those instances, you are having a conversation with yourself. So your idea, if you are not putting it out there, we're going to say that it is in the silence. So what we're saying to you today is that the real answer, the most valuable answer, may be in the silence. So what are we willing to do to extract that in the environment? So not just at work, but at home. I know many of y'all, your kids come home from school or from some camp or whatever, and you want them to talk about whatever their experience was, and they give you, 4 or 5 words and they're done with it. I want to offer you a tool that may allow you to allow them, whether we're talking about the them at home or the them at work, to absolutely put more of their ideas out there so that you can find that the true answers are in the silence.
Got it. So if you're soliciting these answers from the silence, then you're listening with the intent to be influenced from everyone on the team.
Yeah, you've got to be willing to receive these things when they come. So here's an example. What we do at Discover Leadership Training is what we refer to as brain writing. So rather than brainstorming, we do brain writing because we are committed to make sure that no idea is left behind. Because every one of those ideas have some value. Depending upon our outcome, we are specifically focused on extracting the ideas that meet the outcome. So what we do is what we refer to as brain writing. We give everyone participating in the meeting an opportunity to write down 3 to 5 ideas that are specifically focused on a specific outcome. We take all of those ideas and we put them on a whiteboard, not in any priority. We know that we generally come up with way more than we can deal with in our time frame. So we then go through and identify some of the best ideas on the board. And what I have recognized over the years, Eric, is some of the best ideas, even some of those that are embraced and made policy moving forward, came from someone who would never have spoken it out loud. So in that instance, what we became aware of as we were focused on no idea being left behind is that the answer that we ultimately embraced and moved forward on was lurking in the silence.
So what tools do you have to dig those out, to get those gems so that you can have that on your intact teams?
Yeah, and that's exactly what we were just talking about, Eric. So I hope that you'll listen better on the next one. We were talking about brain writing. That is the idea. That is the money idea that's going to help you, whether we're talking about having your children sit down. And I did this with my boys. Y'all hear me say this all the time. My boys were my lab rats as they were growing up, going through this process, y'all. Every activity that they participated in, every trip that we took, they had to come home and write a book report, whatever kind of report you want, an essay on what their experience was, what they got from the experience, how they benefited from it. And we had an opportunity to then have a good discussion based upon what they had written down. So as I implemented that into my business, I found that it had the exact same value. We get an idea and an opportunity, Eric, to hear from everyone during this particular brain writing session, because everyone is comfortable enough to write their ideas down when they don't have to necessarily speak them out loud.
Got it. That's awesome, man.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Here we go now.
So you heard it here first. That's the edge, I guess.
You can't go out like that, bro. You got to be stronger than that.
Yeah. So, Mike, you talk about the answer being in the silence in the master grad class. What is it in that context?
Yeah, and even though we don't do brain writing in the master graduate class, what we recognize is that we are teaching the whole DISC process, D-I-S-C, which is a personality assessment. When individuals identify what their personality profile is, what we observe quite often is that there are people in the class who now are aware that if they are occupying one of those quadrants where they are an introvert, then they are someone who generally has answers in the conversation that they're having with themselves that are generally not going to step out and put those answers into the universe. So what we teach them is that in order for them to be more successful, a more valuable member of the team, or a more valuable person in the relationship, they have got to first be aware that they can move from the introvert to the extrovert section and put their ideas out there, recognizing that the worst thing that could happen is that they could fail, and they know that failure is inevitable and that it is something that they must embrace in order to become a better version of themselves.
So WTO, what's the outcome? Set that positive outcome and move forward until you get there.
Absolutely. And if you're not living your life out on the edge, hey, you're taking up far too much risk.
Hey, you.
Here we go now.